Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This video right here, man, we're gonna, sorry about the sun, but you know, this video right here, we're going to discuss these four-wheel drive headers and how I put them on this this two-wheel drive for 2.8 now. The 4.3s or 3.8s and stuff like that, you can swap these out with. You can buy headers to them all day long, but a standard two-wheel drive header for a 2.8, you can't, if you can find them, somebody say something in the comments, because I never could. There is still quite a few the four-wheel drive headers out there, but they're getting scarce. So that's what you're stuck with if you're working with a 2.8. So without making this thing real long, let's just get to it. Let me turn you around. We'll start at the top, and then I'll climb up under it and explain a little bit more. I can show most of it from the top, but you know, the shifter linkage and stuff, you can't show from the top and really make you understand it. So here we go. Okay, first off, there's a few people that contacted me about these headers and said they had a lot of trouble on the driver's side. Well, I didn't have this. The driver's side fit right in there, no problem whatsoever. It's not touching the frame, it's not touching anything. One thing you are going to have to do though is one of two things. The oil filter housing on a two-wheel drive slants to the back, so you can't go that route because it's hitting in the header. I was lucky and had a four-wheel drive housing just laying around, stuck it on there, solved that problem. If you don't have that luxury, your next step is probably going to be a remote mount for the oil filter and mount it somewhere up here, like on the 4.3s. So there's that. Now, the next problem is on the passenger side, right here. You can see how close this header is. So it was not touching that, but it was really close to it. So every time, you know, your suspension is running up and down, there's a chance it's going to cut a hole in that header. So what I did there is I just freaking took a hammer and just dimpled it in a little bit, right? And you can still see, man, it's really close to touching that frame. So I took a hammer, dimpled that in a little bit just to give me a good 1/4 inch clearance there. So far, everything is great on that. I did have to cut the wing off of the transmission with a sawzall to keep it from being too darn close to that transmission. And that wasn't real hard to do. Just take the header out, take a sawzall and zip on the top bolt, and we'll show you that when we get under there. Past that, man, it's really not hard. I do recommend, back when I first started messing with these headers on 2.8s, they come with that darn paper gasket, but you can just buy stock 2.8 manifold gaskets and they work freaking awesome. This one just happened to come with that metal cladded gasket, and that's the only reason I used that. One other thing we had a problem with was putting these on. The bolts they sent with it from the factory were not metric bolts. So we had to spend, I think it was $30 for a set of bolts to mount the headers. That was a pain in the butt, but hey, we got it done. Now, next, let's go under, let me explain this to you real quick. Your wiring harness for your starter. While you got these headers off, man, you make sure everybody that stuff is pushed against that block as tight as you can get it, because if not, these headers will burn the crap out of that, right? Every freaking time, because I had it happen to me 2 or 3 times on another S10 I had. And then I finally got wise and took the header out and made sure everything was as close over, and I mean, I was tying it up everywhere to make sure it stayed there. Another guy commented was his speedo cable. So I can get you down in there, sitting right, wait a minute, no, it's sitting right there, was laying up against the header. Well, there's a little clamp down there that holds that speedo wire or speedo cable up. You need to make sure you got that thing in that loop and tight as you can get it, and pull as much slack as you can from up here, right? And keep that thing up against the bottom of that cab. Next, let's cover this real quick. The shift rod right there. You cannot use a 2-wheel drive shift rod with 4-wheel drive headers. They will just interfere with everything and mess everything up. This one still has a problem, but what we did is Lars went and got I think it was a 91 4-wheel drive and got the shift rod out of it for me, and we stuck that in there. Now you still have a problem. I don't know if you can see it, but right down there, it just barely touches the floorboard on the cab, and it makes it a pain in the butt to put in park. But it's not too bad. You just got to be mindful of that. But we had to bend that around a little bit and get it done. I'll show you the difference between the 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive shift rod. You can see right back here, see how it comes out like this and goes down. But the 4-wheel drive firewall right here is just a tad bit different from what I can tell. And there's the problem. We've been it around. We got everything working like it needs to. When you putting it in gear, it misses the header and all that stuff. But if you try to bend that rod down there to miss that, there it is, right there, to miss that cab, then it gets up against the header, right? So anyway, that's another thing you're gonna have a problem with. And then we get done showing you what I done. I'll tell you some stuff that if I had the money and the time, we would have done different. But we was in a money crunch and a time crunch to get this thing to the No Name Nationals this year. So hang on, let's climb up under this thing. All right, guys, let's start on the problematic side. Number one, we had to cut the ear. I don't know if you can see it on this and the transmission. That's right. This is hard to shoot. Oh, I figured it'd be a little easier than that. Hang on. That's right up there where the starter hook's in. There's a little ear that comes off that transmission. And all we did was take a sawzall. It ain't focusing, but right up there, and cut that off, which gave us plenty of room to get this in there. And there's plenty enough bolts on this torque converter cover here to hold it on there, period. That was it. This thing is real tight against that transmission pan, but it does miss it, as you can see, right? You're gonna have to fiddle with your transmission lines a little bit and make sure they're away from that header as close, as far away as you can get it. Next, let's scoot back here. The collector on this thing is fine. I'm telling you that it works fine. It is a little close, but you got plenty of room, okay? So a little hammer, a little ingenuity, cut a little piece off that transmission is not hurting anything. Get that out of the way. This passenger side fits perfect. Now let's hit the driver's side. All right, driver's side. The main thing you're gonna have a problem with here, the 2-wheel drive shift rod lever here, it is actually bent to this side. And I was trying to bend that to get it over away from that header, and didn't work. Ended up breaking the rod. My advice here is cut that lever on this side of, what's your focus? Yeah, on this side, because it's got a square piece this lever here sets on. And if you cut it up close to that on this side, you can take it off, flip it over, and just have to weld that back on. And you don't have to worry about orientating it with that side. You just have to weld this back on straight. And if you can't do that, you can take it somewhere, somebody will weld it on for you. It's not hard. But that's the only issue that we had over here. Seriously, that was it. Everything else fit perfect. The header fit perfect. If you can see, it is close, but it's not touching anything. Simple, easy peasy on this side. Like I said, the next thing, well, you can see how I got my cable up in here, and I got that sucker pulled as tight as I can to keep it up off that header. Well, that's up there. So you got a good 1.5 inches before that thing's laying on there. So that shouldn't be a problem. You've got plenty of room here. It's nowhere near that transmission. Like I said, this shifter rod right here, and you can go get you a 4-wheel drive shifter rod, but you can just cut that off, flip that thing around, boom, weld it back up, you're done. Now, let me climb out from under here, because we're about done. And let me go in the shop here, and I still got the 2-wheel drive shift lever, and I've got a Large-Bought 2 4-wheel drive shift levers. Let's show you the difference between those. Okay, here we go. There's the 2-wheel drive shift lever. Now, look at the different bends in the 4-wheel drive, right? This has got to be there to miss that header. That deep bend has got to be there to miss the header. And then right in here's where we had to do a little extra bending to make that work. But this is out of, what was it, 91?
Yeah, 91.
Yeah, 91 Jimmy. So there's the difference, and you can see where the problem would be, right? So that explains it. Go to the junkyard, find you a shift rod if that's the way you want to do it. Now, that's pretty much it. A little bit of welding, a little bit of banging, a little bit of cutting, and it'll all fit in there freaking fine. I was told because of the shock towers, the struts, and yada, 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 it wouldn't fit, but it fits. Just gonna take a little extra work and then just sliding them in. One thing, if I'd had the money that would have eliminated 90% of my problem, would have been, I would have put a floor shift in that little S10 and just got rid of that rod completely. That would have solved every bit of the shifting issue. It would have been real simple. Drill a hole in the floorboard there on the tunnel, throw the cable on it, done. And I'm seriously thinking that's what I'm gonna do anyway, sometime over the course of this next year or this winter. I don't think I'm gonna go buy one. I think I'm gonna go find a Camaro or something that's got the shifter still in it, get the cable, shifter, all the connecting pieces, and just freaking drill a hole and some self-tappers and put it in the truck. That way it's just, right? That's about it, man. I said I'd put it up, I'm putting it up. Hope y'all got something out of this. I hope I explained some of the stuff. Don't forget to put these 4-wheel drive headers on, man. You got to change that oil filter housing to a 4-wheel drive oil filter housing, or you got to put a remote oil filter system in it. So, and finding those 4-wheel drive oil filter housings for a 2.8 nowadays is almost freaking impossible. At least I think it is. But anyway, there you go. Hope you got something out of this video. I hope I explained as much as you needed, so there's not a whole bunch more to explain. Number one, though, make sure you got good engine mounts in it, because if the engine mounts are sunk in, you're going to have more problems. So I'd throw them in there before I ever attempted that, or putting the headers on it. But anyway, hope y'all got something out of it. Hope everybody's home is safe. Watch out for them darn loose lug nuts, because they'll get you. Trust me, I know. We'll see y'all on the next one. Next time.